into the afternoon. A song by the first band of Merseybeat, this one. Not the Beatles, but we will come to that in a moment.
Ja,
Don't let the sun start to cry.
dass der Willi so schön ist. Das finde ich cool, ja. Das ist eine tolle Idee.
Tonight for time for your tears. Your heart may be broken tonight, but tomorrow will the morning light. Don't let the sun start to cry. It's a melancholy song with a positive message. That, you know, cheering up and all of that. The nighttime shadow yeah, but there you go. Welcome aboard, everybody. Welcome aboard. Oh, look, people are on a fun run over here, look, in front of us. I've decided that fun run is an oxymoron. Fun run.
Ich habe meine Flasche zu Hause.
Unless you get paid for it.
Ja, dann kannst du bei mir ein paar Mal nutzen. Ich habe halt die eine Flasche. Ich habe gar nichts dabei. Oh. Ich habe die heute Morgen ausgepackt. Und dann kurz, weil ich was gesucht habe.
Should we have a little song? Here we go. Let's get going.
Einmal die Timer nachher. Und jetzt kannst du es sagen. Presents that they've been bought that just don't suit you at all. You obviously don't know who I am, and that's not my colour either. It's going back, isn't it? Yeah, keep the receipt till the end of January. But yeah, that's how it goes, isn't it? But welcome to Liverpool, everybody. My name is Damien. Your driver downstairs is Anne. Welcome to another year, another trip round the sunny. Let's hope we've got a few more left as well. So welcome aboard, welcome aboard. Takes about 90 minutes this tour. Let's just find out who's on board. Is anybody here to celebrate today? Is anybody's birthday? No? Happy birthday to you in Liverpool. Happy birthday to you, Linda. Happy birthday, oh Linda. Happy birthday to you. And I've snapped another string. That's right. But it was all worth it, Linda, because it's your birthday. You know what I mean? Well, I've snapped a string, and I know I don't think I've snapped two. Have I done that? Oh, I've only brought one set of strings, and I've already broke one today. But the show must go on. But don't worry. I think the Beatles do better versions of these songs. That's it, Lime Street Station. You've got St George's Hall over your left shoulder, a lovely neo-classical building. They're both world's firsts. St George's Hall just happens to be the world's first air-conditioned building. I don't know why they bothered in Liverpool. Just open the window, it's freezing. You know? Got cold air all day, every day around here. Now we have a naked man on your right, if anybody's interested. Up there in the sky on your right. He's called Liverpool Resurgent, that man. And I'll tell you what, if you're out tonight on a Saturday, that will not be the only naked man. We do have a good time in Liverpool. Come here to celebrate, because let's face it, what goes on in Liverpool? In Liverpool.
No, it goes on social media. Gets writ large on Tinternet now.
But it's called Liverpool Resurgent. He was unveiled in 1957, and when they pulled the curtain away from him, a lady in the audience on the pavement fainted. I don't think you should ever seen a gentleman without clothes on. So there was a reporter from the Liverpool Echo in the crowd, and he ran a story about the naked man. Should we re-angle the dangle? On a Saturday afternoon. A bit crude, isn't it, for the 6th of January, but we'll move on. It's also a road about Maggie May, Lime Street, Dirty Maggie May. They've taken her away, and she'll never walk down Lime Street anymore. Well, that's Lime Street just behind you. It's an old sea shanty, that. We have 2,500 of them in Liverpool. Yeah, songs you sing about people and places you know and love. You know, with affection, sentimentality, nostalgia. That would be Penny Lane, Strawberry Field, and many others. But whilst we're here, let me just plug my phone in and get me speaker. To your right hand side, everybody, number 64. On our right now is where John Lennon got married. In that building there, on your right. On the 23rd of August 1962, John and Cynthia walked into 64 Mount Pleasant and came out as Mr. and Mrs. Lennon. There was an obligation to that marriage. Anybody understand why somebody might feel obliged to get married? I don't know if it exists anymore. She was pregnant. Who said that? Not your story, is it? No. Leave me out of your story. They got married because Cynthia Powell was pregnant with the first Beatle baby, Julian Lennon. And when Brian Epstein found out, who was born on that road to your right, Brian, that's Rodney Street on your right. If you do the city tour, you'll go down that road later. Brian's birthday was the 19th of September 1934. He would have been 90 this year, but he died at 32. Young lad, wasn't he, Brian? And he found out Lennon and his partner were expecting a child, and he said, John, get married. This could be the end of your career. If the fans find out we've got an illegitimate child, first thing they'll do is stop buying your records. They won't financially support you. You know, illegitimacy. Even now it's an ugly word, isn't it? Illegitimacy. But it was also a social and religious taboo, certainly for this city. And he said it could be the end of your career. So they got married. On your right. I bet they've got some story in them trees, haven't they? But today is the last day of Christmas. That's where we recite. It's called Sefton Park, this, and it features in Ringo's biography. But let me set this up properly. Richard Starkey became a drummer when he contracted pleurisy and was sent to a sanatorium. And whilst he was convalescing in a sanatorium, he was bored. So he joined the hospital band and he became a drummer, quite by chance. He joined a band after that when he left called Rory Storm and the Hurricanes. And our Liverpool bands used to go to Hamburg to entertain the troops. And Ringo would sing for Rory Storm. That's why they replaced Pete Best, because Pete wouldn't sing, amongst other things. And he also, Ringo, would use this park here on your right. They call it Sefton Park. Ringo said, I arrived in Sefton Park one day as a boy. I met a lady friend, and I saw, you're ahead of me, aren't you? I saw the sunrise as a man in that park. I don't know what that means, well I do. But it means where he came of age, if you will. But I've got another song for us, because he sang 11. The next song I'm reaching for, he sang under another pseudonym. This is on the Sgt. Pepper album. Why did you get rid of him, Pete Best? And Lennon said, well, Ringo is a better Beatle. And the Americans said, does that make Ringo the best drummer in the world? And Lennon said, well, Ringo, he's not even the best drummer in the Beatles. Utter the truth. We're moving from one Beatles song to the next. This is Penny Lane.
Yes, I get by with a little help from my friends, with a little help from my friends.
From Penny Lane. So what we're going to do, we're going to set you down for a photograph if you'd like, you know, of the street sign, Penny Lane. Now, Anne's doing you a service because just in front of us to the left there is a sign on the wall that includes Paul McCartney's autograph. So if you'd like a photograph, this is our first stop. Watch the traffic. If you could all retake the seats you've got now when you get back, we'll stay friends with our Linda, won't we? Come and join us. This is Penny Lane. Come and join us. Going by a barber, banker, nurse and fireman. They're all real. We'll see 3 of them at the end of the road. So as we go over the oldest passenger railway line that goes left to town and right to Manchester, let's have the song Penny Lane. Yeah, they picked up on 4 characters, a banker, barber, nurse and a fireman. 3 of them are at the end of the road. But without going on and on and on with all the story, let's just have Penny Lane in your ears and your eyes. Next to the people by the dustbin, we have an off licence and then the famous barber. It's now called Tony Slavin, but it used to be called Harry Bioletti. Did anybody see Carpool Karaoke with Paul McCartney? Did you see it? Yeah, he turned up for the first time ever since he's left. Now my friend's sister used to work in that barber's for over 25 years. Paul McCartney came on a wet Tuesday morning, the only time he ever came. And that was her day off. That would be my luck, that. Linda, if there's reincarnation, I'm coming back as me. Self-depreciated. So let's recap. You've got a barber on your left-hand side who takes a photograph of every head he's had the pleasure to know. On your right-hand side, you have a shelter in the middle of a roundabout where a pretty nurse sells poppies from a tray. Just in front of us, as we try and cut into the traffic, you've got a bank on the corner to our left next to Bernardo's. One of many banks on the corner around here. Yeah, and there's the 86 bus. It's quite legendary, the 86. It trundles up and down every 3 minutes. Paul McCartney said that bus route became the inspiration for the song Penny Lane. Travelling down this road. Can you see that this is more representative of the song Penny Lane than Penny Lane? This is suburbia. There beneath the blue suburban sky. Yeah, and as we go left at this junction, if we follow those 2 cars to the right, they're going down to Paul McCartney home. Well, they're going past him. And just around the next corner is the famous fire station as well. They're all real characters. They sang about their neighbourhood. And Paul McCartney said, the 86 bus is where I met George Harrison for the very first time. He said, I got on the bus, there was a lad with a guitar. And from that moment on, they called George Harrison's guitar his imaginary friend, because he went everywhere with him. And I don't know about you guys, I don't know about McCartney and Harrison together for the first time. George was 14 years old at this point. Paul McCartney was 15. John Lennon arrived, he was 17, and when he saw George, he said, no, I want teddy boys and rock and rollers, not children. And Paul said, watch him play the guitar. And having seen him play, Lennon changed his mind. He said, well, I know what I said about him, Paul, but if he plays the guitar like that, we're going to be a better band with that kid in him. And it's a lesson of perseverance, isn't it, George? If they say no...
Ja, deine ist besser, glaube ich.
Oh, you look lovely. Well done, chaps. Fun for you in the middle, lad.
Das war ja eben das, was ich meinte.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Can I get you guys in? We've got the three floors here again. Let's get you all in.
Das ist nicht blöd, man kann das nicht ohne Leute machen. Nee.
Let's get that.
Ich frage jetzt
This is the whole family.
Yeah.
Playground. It was run by the Salvation Army, and the majority of children they took were girls. So you can imagine the lads. Let's go and look at the girls, let's go and tease them. Lennon got caught in the grounds of Strawberry Fields looking at the girls. And his art meaning said, if you get caught there again, John, you're going to get hung for that. It's private property. So that telling off became the Menlove Avenue. His name's on the gatepost, and for the Brits he has a blue plaque on the wall. This is John Lennon's childhood home. Now the Brits understand the significance of a blue plaque. You've shaped Britain's heritage, but for the for our international market, you've left a lasting impression on Britain's outlook from abroad. We're entertainers and singer-songwriters and all that kind of thing. Now, Aunt Mimi and Uncle George owned the house, and John lived here from the age of 5 to the age of 22. Almost half of his life in that house. The longest residence he ever had, and it's now a museum. You can do a tour or a private viewing, as they say, with the National Trust. You spend an hour here, then they collect you, and you spend an hour in Paul McCartney's home. You know, if you're a big Beatles fan like me, it was wonderful. The best part of this house for me is that little porch by the front door, because this is where they used to rehearse and write songs. Now in 2015, Lennon and McCartney gained Liverpool UNESCO World Heritage status as a city of music. Not single-handedly, but they are the biggest part of it, because they invented pop. And that's where they wrote their first original songs, in that 2-foot by 4-foot porch. So you're looking at the advent of pop music. Kind of listening to the songs we're listening to today originate from that porch. The only two songs we know, written in their entirety, are I Call Your Name and Please Please Me. And then we're not sure, neither are they, about whether the song began or ended its life here, and it was also written in Paul's house. Yeah, but when you're in that little 2-foot by 4-foot porch, when you do the tour, you are stood on the shoulder of giants. You know, I'm using metaphors, but it's true, isn't it? You know, rock and pop legends. I can't think of a bigger story in music than this, but maybe you can. But it all began when they met on the 6th of July 1957 at the top of the hill on your left-hand side. Now right up there on the top you'll see right-hand side. You'll see some solar panels at the front, you'll see some solar panels on the right, on the roof, and the house is set back in the middle. Can you see the solar panels? Well, just further over, second to the end has a red roof, and it's this side of the red roof. Can you see that, Linda? They call it the hip factory. The guys at the back you'll see in a moment. So, number 24th in Road is responsible for over 40 songs that made it to vinyl. One of them was called She Loves You, in German, Selieblich, released in German as well, pardon my pronunciation. So, just beyond the solar panels on the right-hand side on the roof, can you see that, guys?
Yes.
Just a bit further over, second to the end has a red roof. Nobody's allowed down the road. The council won't allow it. But it is a very prestigious residential address. You can't be king and queen in Britain unless you're married to a family, but you can be a billionaire if you grew up in a council estate. Come on, Linda. Linda's asking why it doesn't have a plaque. Because there are rules to that. To get a blue plaque in Britain, you have to be 100 years old and alive, or dead for 20 years. Either way, that's Paul now, he's 82 this year, so he's getting one in the next 20 years either way. Thanks for that then. He will have one eventually. We have 14 blue plaques in Liverpool. Lennon has one. Yeah, but Lennon died 44 years ago this year, didn't he? Not George Harrison. They won't put one on George's because they didn't write songs there. So it doesn't have cultural significance in that same way. That's what they say. Although George's childhood home is now an Airbnb. And I doubt they'll put a blue plaque on that, but I think they do. Maybe they're phasing out Airbnb, I don't know. But it brings me to the next part, thanks for that, Linda. It brings me to the next part of this tour. Has anybody wondered why the Beatles have never been surpassed for record sales and popularity? Has it ever occurred why it's still the pinnacle of music for records? You know, we catch up, don't we, on smartphones and smart speakers. But I've got three things, really, that separate the Beatles from everybody else, but you do have to marry them together. The first thing the Beatles did with their soundtrack is shared this city with their audience. You guys, you know, Penny Lane, Strawberry Field, The Day in the Life, In My Life, Yellow Submarine, In the Town Where I Was Born, you know. They call them sea shanties, and we are not the only city that do that. In fact, the Americans do it better than anybody. There is a song about every single town in America, isn't there? Get on Route 66. Georgia's on my mind. There's a midnight train lease for it. New York is a concrete jungle where dreams are made. So good it was named twice. Galveston, Kansas City. Anyone going to San Francisco? Do you know the way to San Jose? It goes on and on and on in America. So we're not unique in that sense. Everybody has a sea shanty. The next thing they did with their soundtrack is shared their families with you. John Lennon's mother's called Julia. She's on the White Album, the eponymous White Album. Yeah, Julia Ocean Child is the lyric. Ocean Child is the English translation of Yoko. So John shared the name of his girlfriend, future wife, and his mother in one song. Paul McCartney's mother, Mary. Let It Be. Mother Mary comes to me in his dreams when she died when he was just 14. John's mother died when he was 17. That's one thing they shared. Their mothers died within 12 months of each other. Yeah, it kind of spurred them on. And then the third thing they did is they shared that music. This is a band that couldn't have enough hits, so they started writing for other people. I'll give you four beneficiaries. Well, Cilla Black, Love of a Love, Step Inside Love, Billy J. Kramer in Liverpool, and the Dakotas. Bad to Me was a Beatle B-side, big hit in America. I Should Have Known Better, well, we all know that one. Does anybody remember Peter and Gordon? They had a song called World Without Love. Well, does anybody know the connection to Paul McCartney? Yeah, Jane Asher's brother, you're absolutely right, you know your stuff. When Paul McCartney left the house around the corner, he moved to London at the age of 21 with the Beatles, and he got engaged for the second of 5 times. Paul McCartney's first engagement was a lady called Dorothy Rowe from Wavertree. She fell pregnant in the Hamburg years, and had that gone ahead, that would have been the end of this. That's who he wrote P.S. I Love You for, Dorothy Rowe from the Hamburg. But she lost the baby. He was out in Hamburg, and he said, well, that's it. And it broke up. Then he got engaged to Jane Asher, and they were together for 6 years. When Jane introduced Paul to her brother Peter, he said, I'd love to be as popular as you, in a kind of roundabout way. And Paul McCartney said, well, I can write you some song. And he helped write them World Without Love and Woman. And they were a big hit in America, part of the British invasion of 1964. I'll play it for you in a moment. And also, the only other band that really competes with this one is the Rolling Stones, isn't it? It's the only one that can for record sales and popularity. Well, the first single the Rolling Stones ever released was a Chuck Berry song called Come On, and it didn't bother the charts. Turn off your mind, relax and float downstream. We're talking about the psychedelic era. That wasn't for everybody, the Beatles' psychedelic period, but it lifted them out of Merseybeat. Every other Merseybeat band couldn't find a way out, the Beatles did. So why was it so popular? Well, I think timing was a big part of it. The Beatles arrived at a time of portable record players in the early 60s. If you get a record player, you want a record. And the Beatles are all over the charts. And in that era, they went to number 1 17 times. So loads of top 10s, loads of top 20s, but 17 number 1s. They'd hang around, sell a few 100,000, drop out of the charts, and then somebody like Elton John would do a cover version of it, and it would go back to number 1. Elton John had a number 1 with Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Let me ask you this, why does Elton John do a Beatles song when he's one of the greatest singer-songwriters ever? Well, this is an old trick, this. It doesn't happen much anymore, but if you do a Beatles song on your album, you've got my interest, and there's millions of us. They're called Beatlemaniacs. We all listen to it. Most of us go and buy it, but we're buying the Beatles record on that album, really, and we'll buy your records as well, you know what I mean? That used to happen more often than it does. But if you want the story to last for 66 years, or 67 this year, you're going to have to make it in America, on the Billboard chart, where all the money is. And the reason the Americans like this story more than anybody else And the proof of that, more Americans saw the Beatles, more Americans bought their music. But the equation is, there's more of them. There's 330 million Americans to our 70 million Brits. And the reason the Americans fell in love with it, I think, again, timing. The Beatles arrived on the 7th of February 1964 at JFK to do the Ed Sullivan Show on the 9th of Feb. And yeah, they found a country that was in mourning, a country that had just lost their president, JFK. And the Beatles turned up and the Americans thought, wonderful, you're here to celebrate. Let's get on the Beatles. So they watched the Ed Sullivan Show on the 9th of Feb. It kind of went, honoured by their queen, loved by their country, ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles. And 73 million people tuned in. Biggest TV audience of the world ever at that point. That's been repeated as well with All You Need Is Love, World Day, our world. So they went to the top of the chart. So by the April of 64, having done the Ed Sullivan Show in the February, the Beatles are number 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 on the biggest chart in the world. They took over the American chart as well. Timing, again, you know. But we've got one more Beatle to tell you about. I'm going to play a song here called If I Needed Someone. It's a wonderful song. It's written by George Harrison. Now, George Harrison's house is the only house we don't visit. We saw where Ringo lived. We looked at John's house. We peered down the road for Paul's. George Harrison was born in Wavertree, Arnold Grove. It's too far away to show you a terraced house. And then he moved to Speke. That's where he met Paul McCartney behind us. Now I'm going to pause this here. I'm going to play this song. That's where they met in Speke. But yeah, I'm going to play you a song from the Rubber Soul album here. If I Needed Someone.